I'm slacking. There was probably a way I could get more pins on this jacket. Hello, friends and enemies. Welcome to Horror and Inconvenience, where things are usually spooky and always weird. And today, though it's a little late, I am going to make my Pride Month TBR. Well, that's what I told myself I was going to do. I have this 3-tiered TBR cart. It's actually a craft supply cart, but that's not what I use it for. And we're going to fill it with some unread queer books that I had sitting around, and then we're going to fill it again with more unread queer books that I had sitting around. And then possibly a third time. But first, this is a little plain, and I don't think that's in the spirit of the thing, so we're going to put a few stickers on it. Okay. Here I have Dionysus, but he's a cat. Dionysus is pretty gay. So, thrilling cinema. Gay sticker on the cart. Okay. Here's one of Captain America and Iron Man kissing. I'm going to put it on the second tier. Gay sticker on the cart. Here's a sticker of some lesbian fairies. It came with the art book Classics But Make It Gay. And it's going on the cart. Alright. Now we're going to put this rainbow that says Art Made Me Gay on the cart. It is, after all, technically an art supply cart. Gay sticker on the cart. Here's a sticker of a T-Dragon from Kay O'Neill's T-Dragon Society comics, which are queer comics for kids. Here's a pretty sticker of some hands with a ribbon around them with a Sappho quote. It says, "Someone will remember us even in another time." It's a gay sticker, and it's going on the cart. Here's a ship sticker. It says hashtag Spideypool. And it's going on the cart. Here's a gay sticker. It's got Lexa from The 100, and it says, "Our fight is not over." I am not over The 100, and this gay sticker is going on the cart. Here's a painting of Aphrodite. She's the goddess of love, so she can't be straight. It's holographic, and it's going on the cart. Here's a floral sticker that says "Fanfiction Saves Lives." Here's a sticker of a skull surrounded by some flowers. While we can't prove that this particular skull was queer, I think we can say queer until proven cishet. It's a gay sticker. It's going on the cart. Here's our cart. And for a final touch, it occurs to me that trying to bring any real semblance of order to this would be kind of insane, so I am going to grab the closest books first. Carmilla, the version edited by Carmen Maria Machado to point out the gayest scenes. Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z. Bright. Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I know it's problematic, but it's a classic and I haven't read it yet, so. Slammerkin by Emma Donoghue. I don't know, I guess I just really like historical waifs. Lady Hotspur by Tessa Grattan. I'm pretty excited for this one. It's the Henry V plays, but with sword lesbians. Great Believers by Rebecca Mackay. Less by Andrew Sean Greer. Forms of Heaven, a collection of plays by Clive Barker. As you can see, I'm currently reading this. It's You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca. He disappointed me once. He's probably going to disappoint me again. When he comes out with his next book, will I let him disappoint me a third time? Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. Another one I'm currently reading, Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin. I'm really loving this so far. We've got a little space here, so let's shove a few mass market paperbacks in there. I've got Ruby Fruit Jungle by Rita Mae Brown, a lesbian classic I haven't read yet. Billy Budd by Herman Melville. I actually do plan to eventually start collecting old editions of Billy Budd in hopes that one day I will find the Holy Grail, the gayest cover of Billy Budd. There are a lot of good options out there. Goddess of Filth by V. Castro. The Spine is a Spine. Get it? Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. And A Little Light Mischief by Cat Sebastian. That'll about fill that level. Alright, let's do level 2. They by Kay Dick. This is a queer dystopian literary work by an English author from, I believe, the 70s. The Balcony by Jean Genet. Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, another classic I haven't gotten to yet. Amatka by Karin Tidbeck. This is supposed to be an amazing read. It's supposed to be mind-bending and spooky, and just has gotten praise from all quarters, so I'm really looking forward to it. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Yes, I read and enjoyed Red, White, and Royal Blue. Yes, I know that makes me basic, and yes, it's a little bit of a self-indulgent story, and do I care? Well, I'm gonna read her next one. It might take me a while, and she's come out with a new one since, and I'll probably eventually get to that. I like her. The Angel of the Crows by Catherine Addison. It's a Sherlock and Watson story that says the gay part out loud. How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, which, by the way, what an incredible name this author has. This is a futuristic pandemic novel with a lesbian main character. As Meat Loves Salt by Maria McCann. This was actually sent to me by Jessie of Bartell's Bookshelf, and it is a 17th century historical fiction narrative. Really looking forward to it. It's a big one. I'm thinking I might take it on a trip. Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. I know. Why haven't I read this yet? Winesburg, Ohio by Sherwood Anderson. The feelings, they are mixed. Listen, I haven't seen the movie, and I'm going to read this book purely because I'm fascinated by the discourse. I don't really expect to like it, but I feel like there has to be more going on than just what I've been told. So we'll see. Nightwood by Juna Barnes. I bought this for a class, but then we ended up running low on time toward the end of the semester and cut it from the syllabus, but I've always intended to read it at some point. White Houses by Amy Bloom, about how Eleanor Roosevelt was very gay. While England Sleeps by David Leavitt. Got some Carson McCullers here, another classic I haven't gotten to yet. This is actually a currently reading, Saint Death's Daughter. It's about a necromancer who's allergic to violence, and she's in love with a delightful non-binary love interest. Get a few more mass markets right in here. I've got It Takes Two to Tumble by Cat Sebastian. The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. Some Clive Barker short stories. And an Andre Gide, The Immoralist. I've been looking forward to this one. I've only read one of his so far, and it's a sort of Socratic-style dialogue called Corridon, and it's about how be nice to gays. The Immoralist is more of a kind of decadent-style novel, and, you know, people in the 19th and early 20th century absolutely hated it, so I know I'll enjoy it. All right, third tier. The Memory Librarian by Janelle Monáe and Company. Matrix by Lauren Groff. Gideon the Ninth. I know, it's insane that I haven't gotten to this yet. Lesbian necromancer is my favorite subgenre of fantasy. Tripping Arcadia, a gay modern gothic novel I've been looking forward to. The Heiress by Molly Greeley. This is about Anne de Burgh from Pride and Prejudice. There's some gothic stuff going on, and also she's gay. All of You, Every Single One by Beatrice Hitchman is about a cast of queer characters in Weimar-era Berlin. Vienna, not Berlin. Vienna. I know what I'm talking about. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I should read it. Plain Bad Heroines. I should read it. Luster. I should read it. The Mercies. I should read it. And finally, The Priory of the Orange Tree. I should read it. Whew. Okay, that's the cart filled once. Filling the cart, round 2. We're going to start digging into the nonfiction pile. Bad Gays, A Homosexual History by Hugh Lemmy and Ben Miller. I just received this from Verso Press and a book club I pay for. No one's sponsoring me. And I'm really excited about it. I've read the introduction, and it looks like it's going to be a really fascinating read. Yours Cruelly, Elvira by Cassandra Peterson. As you can see, I've been picking this up whenever I need a pick-me-up. Alright, this is a really old one, so you can't really see the title on the spine, but it is Edith Hamilton, An Intimate Portrait by Doris Fielding Reed, her partner. Edith Hamilton, who famously wrote the Greek mythology book, was queer, and I love her. Oscar Wilde's Last Stand, about a lawsuit brought by an actress in Wilde's play Salome against a right-wing MP for basically slandering it as sexually licentious. Really looking forward to this one. Lost and Found is a lesbian memoir that came out recently. It's been getting great reviews. I've got a huge biography of Hans Christian Andersen, a photography album of Oscar Wilde, a very, very bitchy biography of Alexander the Great by queer authors, a biography of Valerie Solanas, Lesbian Nuns Breaking the Silence, The Stonewall Reader, Heroes and Exiles. It's gay icons through the ages. A biography of Rock Hudson. Queer Street, about the gay community in mid-century New York. Something in the Blood, a biography of Bram Stoker. Vincent Price, a daughter's biography by Victoria Price. I'm fascinated by this one because Vincent Price himself was bisexual, but his daughter Victoria is a lesbian, and she wrote her father's biography. So I'm a huge, huge Vincent Price fan, and he's a native St. Louisan. So I'm really, really looking forward to this one. And here's a recent nonfiction pick I've also been looking forward to. The Sacred Band. 300 Theban lovers fighting to save Greek freedom. So that's what that's about. And now for something completely different. The YA stack. I've got Sophie and the Bone Song by Adrienne Tooley, who wrote Sweet and Bitter Magic, which I loved. Primal Animals by Julia Lynn Rubin. It's a summer camp, it's a cult, what's going on, it's loosely based on Lord of the Flies. It's an exciting one. Hell Followed With Us. This is a dark fantasy with some body horror. It's about a gay trans boy who finds shelter in an LGBTQ plus community center when he's running away from the cult that seems to have modified him, so he's turning into a monstrous seraphim or something. I don't know, but it just came out and I can't wait. A Dark and Starless Forest. We love alchemy. We love fat representation. I'm so excited about this one. Crier's War. This has been sitting around my shelf for a long time, and I don't know why, because I've heard nothing but good things. What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I still haven't decided if I'm going to read this, but I've had this advanced copy for like 4 years now, and at this point, it seems like quitting to give it away without reading it. Symptoms of Being Human. Started this ages ago. It was too emotional for me. Set it down. I'm going to pick it back up at some point. Maybe this month? Trouble Girls, also by Julia Lynn Rubin. A modern YA rewrite of Thelma and Louise. Okay, we've got a bit of a gap here, so let's throw in some of my Sappho collection. Mary Barnard translation, Anne Carson translation, Sappho through English poetry, The Love Songs of Sappho, and Sappho Poems and Fragments. Tier 3, Round 2. We've got some comics. Across a Field of Starlight. The Deep and Dark Blue. Midwinter Witch, the third book in Molly Knox Ostertag's Witch Boy series. Aquacorn Cove by Kay O'Neill. Insects, Volumes 1 and 2. Faithless, and Moonstruck, Volumes 1 and 2. I've also got a couple of young readers' books. Small Town Pride is about a young boy who decides to have a pride parade in his tiny rural Ohio town. This Is Our Rainbow is an anthology of queer stories for children. Hurricane Child by Karen Callender, one I've had sitting around for a while and have been intending to read but haven't gotten around to. Looking forward to it. Okay, now we're going to refill the top tier with a round of manga. Whenever Our Eyes Meet, a Yuri anthology. Syrup, a Yuri anthology. Volume 1 of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, a Yuri series. Volume 1 of Killing Me, a Yuri series. Volume 3 of Failed Princesses, a Yuri series. Volume 1 of A White Rose in Bloom, a Yuri series. Volumes 2 and 3 of Days of Love at Seagull Villa, a Yuri series. Beauty and the Beast Girl, a Yuri standalone. Volumes 2, 3, and 4 of Sweet Blue Flowers, a Yuri series. Volume 1 of Futaribea, a Yuri series. 2 books by Nagata Kabi, My Solo Exchange Diary Volume 2 and My Alcoholic Escape from Reality. I also plan to get a hold of her latest My Wandering Warrior Existence this month. These are really raw, really sad, really well-made lesbian kind of confessional memoirs. I highly recommend them if you like your disturbing literature, and I assume if you're here you do. Yeah, I can only read them in chunks because they make me cry, but they're amazing. Oh, and here are 2 books that accidentally got stuck in the manga stack, even though they're not manga. Siren Queen by Nhi Vo, author of The Chosen and the Beautiful, which I loved. And Anything Could Happen by Will Walton. Okay, well, we've filled the cart twice, and then we've filled 1/3 of the cart. That will pretty much take care of my unread queer books, but since we've still got 2 more tiers, let's go ahead and fill them with queer books I've read that I love. Okay, as you might expect, these are in no particular order. I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by Will Walton is a beautiful queer YA novel in verse that deals with issues of grief and poverty and growing up in a very heartfelt and raw way. Francesca Lia Block's Girl Goddess No. 9 is a book of 9 short stories, one of which is about a girl who is raised by 2 loving mothers, and while she feels perfectly satisfied with her life at home, when she's old enough, she strikes out on a trip to San Francisco, where she was conceived, to find out who her father is. At the end of the story, she discovers that actually she is both her mother's daughter. One of her mothers is transgender. It's a story with a few problems, but it was the first story about transgender people that I ever read growing up, and also one of the earliest stories about lesbians that I read, and so it's extremely important to me. A Clash of Steel by C.B. Lee. I reviewed this in the reading wrap-up for the month I read it. It's Lesbian Treasure Island. What could be better? Will in the World by Stephen Greenblatt. Shakespeare obviously was queer. If I have to argue that, why are you here? Greenblatt, I don't know. And it's not really productive to guess, although if I had to guess, based on the way he writes about Shakespeare, probably. Making History by Stephen Fry. I went through a massive Stephen Fry phase about 10 years ago, and I read all 4 of his novels at the time. Making History was my favorite. It's a an alternate history time travel novel about a maverick graduate student who tries to stop Hitler from ever being born. Wild. Loved it. Morris by E.M. Forster. I'm pretty sure I talked about this like 2 videos ago. I love this book. Venus in Furs, a classic. The Song of Achilles. Oh yeah, I'm one of those bitches. Les Miserables. If you think this book isn't gay, you haven't read it. Shylock is My Name by Howard Jacobson, a modern English reinterpretation of the story of the Merchant of Venice by a Jewish author. Among other things, it makes the queer subplot between, oh, what are their names? Antonio and Bassanio, maybe? It makes that explicit. Very good book. I laughed, I cried. It's really dark, but really funny. Howl by Allen Ginsberg. Signed to my parents 2 years before my birth. So I guess in that case only one of my parents. Probably my dad, but either one of them could easily have gone to a Ginsberg signing. The Well-Dressed Wound by Derek McCormick. It's a poetry book in the form of a play, but because of the literal use of lacunae as a poetic affectation, it could not actually be performed. This is so grotesque and so queer and so iconoclastic. I loved every second of it, although I was nauseous for most of it. The Rover and Other Plays by Afra Bean. This is a 17th century author. She was actually the first woman writing in English to make her living solely off of her writing. The Rover is a notably queer play, although of course not explicitly queer at the time period. You couldn't do that. And Afra Bean was probably bisexual herself. Good Omens. I grabbed these 3 volumes of the Books of Blood to represent what Clive Barker means to me. I can't put all of his books on here. Well, I probably, but I'm not gonna. You get the idea. I love Clive Barker. I have chosen this songbook to represent Company by Stephen Sondheim and George Firth. I do also have the play script. Well, Sondheim and Firth both claimed that this wasn't meant to be a queer story. They are both queer men who were closeted at the time that they wrote the story, and it's very obviously a story about a closeted gay man, so I have chosen not to take the author's word for it. The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag, discussed several times on this channel. An anthology of poems by Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, a lesbian nun writing in Spanish colonial holdings in the 17th century. My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness by Nagata Kabi. Really, you could put any adaptation of Gilgamesh in here. The point is that Gilgamesh and Enkidu are a couple. Gender Trouble by Judith Butler. This is the text. The 3-volume series Yuri Bearstorm. It's about explicitly gay magical girls who turn into bears and maybe they want to eat people. It's unclear. Maybe the bears are a metaphor. The Route of Ice and Salt by Jose Luis Zarate. This book will mess you up. And finally, The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. Hey, I just realized I forgot to mention 2 of my favorite queer classics, so Here I am standing in front of my little shrine to Oscar Wilde and J.K. Wismont, and I am going to show you Against Nature and the picture of Dorian Gray. That'll about do it for us here at Horror and Inconvenience. I hope you've enjoyed this Pride TBR video. And please respond. What's on your queer TBR right now? What do you want to read this month? What do you want to discuss? I can't wait to hear.